shot. Stewart leaning into it beautifully.
Oh, good shot. That's 4. No need to run for that. Short, wide, and put away.
Hick goes high, over the top. It is 6 runs, a magnificent strike from Graham Hick. So Hick's now striking him through the offside. It's going to be chased hard to the boundary, but it's going to be second for the fielder.
Oh, he's cut that one over the top of point. He's really got hold of it. And that's 4 more.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to One World of Sport on day 2 of this third Bank of New Zealand Test match at the Basin Reserve. A fascinating day's play yesterday. Some fine England stroke play, but New Zealand, through some persistent bowling, kept themselves in this Test match despite that epidemic of dropped catches.
Put down. Blair Hutland in the gully. She flies off the outside edge quite quickly. Oh my goodness me. Edged. Might have fallen just short. Graham Gooch will be disappointed at this. He plays away from his body, gives a nick to slip. Difficult chance, left-handed. They are catchable in Test cricket, but it was a difficult chance, to be fair. The shot's not particularly auspicious. Wafting away, a little bit away from his body. Well, it's gone through the hands of Deepak Patel, and that was a drop catch. Goodness gracious.
Well, it's hard to imagine what's going on out there. This is just a regulation catch he had.
A chance, was it? Yes, looked like one. With Patel having a big drive from Smith, and it flew to Crowe.
Yes, it certainly looked as if it carried.
Oh, no question.
There's no question about that.
Stewart going for the pull shot again, and once again, Patel's put it down. It's unbelievable. 2 in a row. Twice he's hit them in the air, twice to Patel, and Patel's put them both down.
Well, there's not a lot one can say, Peter, is there? You described it aptly when you said that twice he's put them down. Well, there it is, people.
Oh, he's cracked that. He's dropped. Dear oh me. Rod Latham in at a short mid-wicket position. Well, dear oh me. He pulled it round. He got hold of it quite solidly. He's not too far from the bat. Probably about 10 or 12 metres. But it was certainly very catchable. Down it went.
Yes, 6 chances were dropped yesterday. That means by our count 14 have been grasped by the New Zealanders in this series, but ironically they have held some beauties. Doing it so badly, what could be done to improve things?
Perhaps they could use a bit of this here, Peter, some glue. Perhaps we're taking the mickey a bit, but I think super glue might be a little more effective than this. But I remember listening to Warren Lees this morning. He said he was going down to the supermarket to get some clean sacks or bags to catch. But they have taken some super catches, really. But they have missed a number, obviously. They're only catching...
Now let's check with Grant Nisbet on today's weather prospects.
Well, it's nice to be able to report from the Basin Reserve again today that it's going to be sun hat weather. Even though it's a little bit overcast here this morning, that overcast is going to clear around midday, and it's going to be once again a fine sunny day for the second day of the Test match. Let's have a look down to the south of the Basin Reserve, down Adelaide Road, in fact, towards the other great sporting stadium in Wellington, Athletic Park, and we see that it's quite clear down to the south. And that, in fact, is where the breeze is coming from this morning, so there's no sign of any inclement weather down there. And so conditions absolutely perfect for the second day of this Bank of New Zealand Test. Well, the little wind doofer is just moving a little this morning, 0 to 10 knots, nothing really to write home about. And our weather box here, supplied by the New Zealand Met Service, reveals that, in fact, it's about 16 degrees at the moment, and we're expecting quite a good high here today at the Basin Reserve. So let's just summarise and see what we can expect. Last night in Wellington, it got to 10 degrees, a wee bit cool. It's 16 at the moment, 21 is the expected high. The wind is from the south again, but perfect for moving a little this morning, 0 to 10 knots, nothing really to write home about. And our weather box here, supplied by the New Zealand Met Service, reveals that, in fact, it's about 16 degrees at the moment, and we're expecting quite a good high here today at the Basin Reserve. So let's just summarise and see what we can expect. Last night in Wellington, it got to 10 degrees, a wee bit cool. It's 16 at the moment, 21 is the expected high. The wind is from the south again, but not as significant as yesterday, 0 to 10 knots. No humidity to speak of. The barometer is big and high at 10.21 and rising, and the outlook is fine.
Yes, it was certainly amazing, John, that Deepak Patel was able to turn that ball so early in his first over, which was only the 32nd over of the match.
Yes, it didn't happen all the time, but it was surprising, and I think it was reflected in the fact that the pitch is very dry to start with, despite that overnight rain before the first day.
Well, it certainly has dried out a great deal overnight too, during yesterday's play and, of course, overnight, and it really does look very dry indeed. You can see this bare patch here. It's almost completely bereft of grass, and you can see here just the odd scuff mark starting to come through, and you can see the odd mark there where the cricketers' spikes have gone into the track, so it's very, very dry indeed.
Yes, and what tends to happen here at the basin when it is dry and when it browns off, the ball holds up, and we saw that yesterday, and the ball didn't come through, and that'll continue to happen. In fact, it may get slower, and as you say, Peter, if these areas get dry, if they crumble, the ball will turn more as well.
At the moment,
get 50, he said, I should be trying all right.
Yes, he rates himself a bit as a batsman, doesn't he, Henry? How's he done in England?
He hasn't done that badly, and he's perfectly capable of putting together a good 20 or 30. And unlike many night watchman tailenders, I think he'll do it reasonably quickly if he stays in.
Oh, he didn't like that one too much. He's a big man, though, isn't he, Henry?
He didn't like it, but actually, for a number 10, he didn't play it that badly.
No. It's 2 legs by the sound of it, which is middle and leg.
And I dare say, I mean, this is rather the sort of the warm-up act, isn't it? Everyone waiting for Ian Botham to stride out next in his 100th Test match. And I'm sure no one will be keener than Ian Botham to make an impression.
And no shot. Yes, he gives me the impression he's a good deal mellower than a few years ago.
Well, yes, I suppose it happens to all of us in old age, doesn't it? They say that your behaviour, they say, is almost impeccable these days.
Quite, Henry. It's lovely. It's lovely. Hang on, I'm getting tangled up.
But, no, I mean, I think Ian Botham is not obviously quite the destructive cricketer that he was either. I mean, he doesn't bowl as fast. The outswinger doesn't go in quite the same way, although he still moves it away from the bat. And as a batsman, he tends to bat rather less flamboyantly, but at times pretty effectively, I can assure you.
Looking at those replays of those, 1978, yesterday, he's put on a bit of weight since those days, Henry, hasn't he?
Well, he's a large chap anyway, and of course, and people have always had this at him all his life, that is he overweight? Well, the fact is that when he gets out there and does it, it doesn't often seem that, you know, he can't fire on all cylinders, and he's got a large frame. And anyway, he's always been a law unto himself, hasn't he?
No, exactly.
And
why not?
Probably, ideally, here's another one who may be a little bit overweight, but if the performances are all right, perhaps it's not too significant.
Wait now.
Dermot Reeve, he's out there on 10. Yes, I think sometimes we're too tough on people who are categorised as personalities. If we didn't have these people, cricket would be all the worse off, wouldn't they?
Well, I think so. I mean, you see another larger-than-life chap who unfortunately is now, he's no longer with us, Colin Milburn, the Englishman. He was enormous and a tremendous chap. He whacked a cricket ball with it really fearsomely.
Yes, it really has been a big move towards all this technical training, and sometimes I think that the players are over-informed about medical problems. They almost, it's almost promoted, isn't it?
Yes, I mean, I think illness and injury is a problem with cricketers, but I think hypochondria has become one too, in some cases. Yes. In that there are those who rather tend to imagine ailments or injuries or potential injuries when they really don't happen.
So there's David Lawrence. He's not facing at the moment at the non-striker's end.
And then, of course, there are those who are prepared to tough it out come what may.
Down the leg side. Yes, I remember last year at the Wellington side, our doctor came down on a number of Wednesdays, and what actually happened is the players started queuing up waiting for him, and so it really promoted illness and injury. And it wasn't until we told him to go away, a terribly nice chap that he is, that we stopped that behaviour. Hopefully for not entirely, unfortunately.
What, Dr. Morrison took over, did he?
So I said, get out in the middle and do something. Score some runs and bowl. Stop moaning. It just popped up, but no real carry on it. And that's the end of Danny Morrison's over, 240 for 5.
Into the ground, and on the, there you see the England supporters. There are a goodly number of England supporters here, actually. And they were helping the decibel content of yesterday, weren't they?
Yes,
I dare
were.
say also helping the bar profits, too.
I think so, yes. Oh, that's a solid-looking shot. Didn't quite hit it where he wanted to, but he's got runs, too. So David Lawrence underway.
Yes, he hit that solidly, didn't quite time it, but got it past John Wright.
There wasn't a lot of footwork there, was there, Henry?
No, there was quite a straight blade there, wasn't there? That was the important part about it.
Just opened the face a little bit.
He really taps the bat, doesn't he, on the ground as though he means business.
Oh, he's gone for a big shot. He's got it over the top of slips and down to third man for 4. Well, he went for it, and it was a thick edge over the top of the slip, Gordon.
Delighted to see that. I'm all for tail-enders playing like tail-enders traditionally used to play, which is swinging the bat.
A lot more fun, isn't it?
Oh, yes. The trouble is now they all think they know rather too much about batting and hang around.
Exactly.
But hang around unproductively, which is so boring. It's so boring.
That's a call through from Dermot Reeve. He's come through, and we'll just wait for the umpire. Leg by. So England moves on to 247. Who's to come? We've got... well, there's the man that controls the big screen with that little hoodacky in his hand. Apparently his name's Russell. We can't give you any more information.
Is he controlling it even as we speak?
I believe so, yes.
It's amazing. He's rather like a spot the ball competition. You wouldn't have any idea what he is doing, would
No.
you?
And big David Lawrence back on strike. It's Ken Rutherford.
What are you watching for, Russ?
Is that there? You see that tent in the background? I believe that's the Mr. Morrison stands here. They haven't actually named a stand after you, but they put up a beer tent.
Yes. Had a bit of trouble funding it, but we're still canvassing for business.
The pun was intended, I hope.
Yeah, of course, Henry, of course.
That was rather a scholarly-looking stroke.
And he's out.
Yes, he is, indeed. Caught in the gully.
Good
And it was a rather amusing dismissal. He played it, and he made it look as though it was a perfect shot and stayed there. But actually, it was just above the ground. And it was Blair Hartland there, wasn't it, who quickly pouched it.
Yes, just pushing forward, as you say, Henry. This is quite nonchalant. Pushing forward, but in the air off a thick outside edge, straight into the gully, and gone. So Ken Rutherford taking the catch. David Lawrence gone. England 248 for 6.
A glorious day for this international fixture. Graham Gooch in strike. A slower delivery this time. And my word, he skied this one. Henry Jones retrieving the ball. And what a magnificent return. Right over the stumps at the bowler's end. Chris Cairns to Alan Lamb now.
Every summer, there's a little bit of cricket in every New Zealander.
Yes, he's gone.
And this summer, there's a lot of cricket in New Zealand. We are proud to offer our support when New Zealand meets England in the Bank of New Zealand Test Series.
Danny Morrison to Graham Hick now. And he's got hold of this one. Straight back over the bowler's head. And that will be 4 runs. A beautifully timed stroke.
Now, remember what I told you in the right hand and that's important.
Morrison comes in again. And yes, he's bowled it. What a superb delivery from Danny Morrison. Further up this time, and that one completely bluffed the batsman.
Well, here he is, the man of the moment. 100 tests for England. Ian Botham coming to the wicket at the Basin Reserve.
I think at this moment he might almost wish he was back in Bournemouth playing the King in Jack and the Beanstalk.
Yes.
4 to come.
So taken guard, 4 to come. We heard umpire Aldridge say the 4th Englishman to play 100 tests for England.
There'll be another one sitting in this chair in just a moment, I think.
He's just come in the door. And a no ball called, and he hit it fairly crisply.
I wonder if there's ever been a more popular cricketer at any time. I mean, look at the reception he got here today. It was, I know there are some Englishmen in the audience, but he did get, didn't he, a terrific reception. And he gets it wherever he goes in the world.
Well, he's been a character in so many ways, hasn't he?
Character and a phenomenal cricketer. Just look at his record.
So let's go back to why he's there. And this is the dismissal of David Lawrence. Really pushing at a ball, thick outside edge, didn't keep it down, and it went into the gully. And Ken Rutherford took the catch.
It was almost off the middle, actually, with the open face, wasn't it?
So big Ian Botham. Well, let's have a look at Ian Botham's record. 100 test matches. It'll be interesting to see how it all stacks up.
Fairly impressively.
Yes. There we are. Age 36. The 100 matches today. Well, started yesterday, but he didn't get on the park.
And just a small matter of 375 wickets as well.
Yes, he's chipped in with the ball, hasn't he?
Now and then.
And he's off the mark here. Down to fine league. Very fine. Beats Danny Morrison, 4 runs. So underway. He'll be pleased about that. It's a while since he's had any decent cricket, one could say. Been involved in the pantomime.
Yes, I don't think he got much. I don't think they played much down there at Bournemouth in December and January.
No. So England on to 253 for 6 from New Zealand's point of view. Opportunity perhaps with the new man in to break through. Well, very short. Oh, and he's cracked that. Through cover. Extra cover. Long chase for Patel. But 4 more.
And those chaps jiving away on the grass on the bank told the story, but there was nothing a bit too rough about that stroke.
So 257 for 6.
At the start, but Stewart was the only one to really go on, 107. And now it's Ian Botham in strike. Well bowled by Cairns. So they'll be having a bit of a look at the pitch just to see any strange...
Well, that one did him on the inside, didn't it?
An off break.
And I think there's a little more venom in that ball. Cairns really put a bit into it. I think it actually did Botham for pace.
And just about cut him in two, too. My word, where did that come from? Oh, I'm going to be interested in that. Let's have another look. It's an interesting contest. A young all-rounder, Chris Cairns, bowling to one who's been around a bit, Ian Botham. And it's a good contest, isn't it? Botham bowled the last time he was in New Zealand, as byes are recorded. The last time he was in New Zealand was in 1983-84, and the last time he played at the Basin, he made 138.
And?
Well, he got a few wickets too, and a few catches and things like that.
Yes, he's been a tremendous cricketer, hasn't he? But as you said, the young all-rounder, the guy just starting his career off, just getting a chance to show his wares to the guy who's been around for a while. I think in contests like this, Peter, you sometimes think about who you'd like to back in such a confrontation. I think I'll go for Cairns.
Well, he's gone for a couple of boundaries. Both of them with 2 scoring shots, 8. leg byes, 2.62 for 6. Botham with a test career average of just over 34. In fact, against New Zealand, he is averaging just over 43. He's had 14 matches against New Zealand, has scored 300s and 450s, an average of 43.68. And in between times, he's taken 61 wickets and a best of 6 for 34, and in fact has taken more wickets for England than any other bowler against New Zealand. So he really is a fabulous player. I suppose there are a few who are given the accolade of legends while they're still playing, and Botham has assumed that role for many years now and thoroughly deserves it. But hasn't yet bowled to Botham. Here he comes.
Yes, it's hard to understand why Morrison can't get the ball around about. He's just wide so consistently, Peter, isn't he? You'd think that he'd be aware of how important it is to have the new ball somewhere round about, and he's starting wide, going further away.
We'll try and see whether we can follow his action and delivery. Just have a look at it. I think you might find that his head's going down. His arm gets a bit more round arm. He loses his height. Just let's see if we can watch him. It's a better ball, but you just see that the head drops away from to let the arm come through, the head drops away, whereas if he was keeping his head still, the body would be higher and the arm would be higher, and of course it would come down in a straighter line.
Yes, I know. Danny's a shoulder bowler, so he's going to always tend to be a little bit round arm. If you look here, and so often it's hard to get the right line. Actually, that was one that he probably came over the top a little more than what he normally does, but it was still wide, Peter. I mean, if he's going to consistently bowl wide, all he's got to do is change his line and bowl with the same action, so he finishes up straighter.
It's well bowled. Danny Morrison has come into the New Zealand side now as the senior strike bowler.
See the many kitchen ideas and styles at your Kitchen Pack showroom.
One world of sport. New Zealand have captured 1 wicket this morning. Lawrence out, caught in the gully by Rutherford. Cairns bowling the 94th over. Botham driving, well stopped. Well, there's a bit of meat in that.
Yes, if you look at this ball, Botham's looking to get on the front foot. See that first movement and anything up? He just really powered into that, didn't he?
Well, it didn't take long to get from the bat to Cairns. The English press unkindly call him Beefy Botham. Well, there was a fair bit of beef in that one.
Well, he's obviously going to play his shots this morning, Peter, isn't he? I suppose this is to make up for Reeve down the other end, because he's not exactly tearing the bowling apart, is he? Here's this one again. It just didn't get up enough for him. But I think he got a bit of bat on there.
Just a bottom edge into his thigh. But that could have gone a long, long way. Yeah, shot. So not all the supporters from the UK.
From the hut, yep.
From the Hutt Valley. That's not too far away. Well, Botham looks to me as if he's just starting to put the foot down on the accelerator.
Well, I thought he's had it down since he came in, Peter. He's obviously going to play his shots, and I know there's a lot of people sitting out there that'll be hoping that he gets a few. New Zealand will be hoping he doesn't get too many, but if we could see him play a few of these blazing shots and get on with the game the way we know he can, it's going to be entertainment, isn't it?
Full toss, nearly carried to Sewer. He almost fell for that, really. He lunged at it bit too much bottom hand and nearly carried it all the way to sewer at mid-on.
I think slower ball too, wasn't quite so quick. Here we are. The bat just got out too far, didn't it? And he was probably lucky that mid-on was back as far as he was, or as wide as he was.
There he goes. My word, there's some handsome strokes there. Right fielding well. Bob, I had the pleasure of seeing Ian Botham get his first 100 against New Zealand at Christchurch. He made 103, and it was just astonishing. It was a privilege to see such a talented player start his Test 100 run. And here we are having the privilege of seeing him again.
The thing about his play too is that he doesn't take long to get them, Peter, does he, when he's in that sort of mood?
Just see that a man's gone down to backward square by the umpire. So 3 runs to Botham. He's 12. It's 266 for 6.
The Majesty. The tradition.
There he is.
G'day, sport, to you too. It's a very good morning to Grant Nisbet and Jeffrey Boycott.
Thanks, Peter. Good morning, everyone. Morning, Jeffrey.
Morning, everybody. Super cricket day in prospect here. If New Zealand can just knock over the late order English batting, they're into the game really seriously.
Pitch looks to be playing all right this morning, Jeffrey.
I don't think it'll deteriorate unduly. All that'll happen, those drier, patchy areas we talk. The pitch report will just become drier, a little more crustier, and as the match goes on, we'll just see the odd ball reacting a little more or a little better if you're a spinner to spin bowling. It'll always be a good cricket surface, a good cricket pitch. A little bit in it for the bowlers like Deepak Patel and Philip Tufnell, but all in all, if you bat well, quite a lot of runs in it.
Oh, big whoosh outside the off stump by Botham.
Well, I can't better that comment. This is really a whoosh. He might as well have been playing in the Bradford League there, or the Lancashire League. I think that's a memory shot, that.
Well, I guess that's the nature of the guy, isn't it? Well, there we are, and I'm sure Jeffrey remembers that occasion pretty well. That was after the loss in Wellington, I think, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. We lost in Wellington, the first victory by New Zealand, and deservedly so. They were the best team, but then we came back in Christchurch with a super performance by Ian Botham and Bob Willis.
Morrison appeared to bowl that one a little slower outside the leg stump. Botham well through the shot. So it's just a little overcast at the Basin Reserve at the moment. High overcast, and it's expected that the sun will poke through after midday, and it'll once again be a lovely day for cricket. Once again, both of them after it.
Ian Botham's a very hard hitter of the ball, but Martin Crowe's put a man. But sort of silling it off. Not a very good circle I've drawn there, but it's...
I think it's a brilliant circle. Look at that. Perfect.
Well, it didn't go where I wanted it to show that man. There, that's it. Brilliant, I've got it right. It's a funny position, that, because Botham is such a hard hitter of the ball. I'm not sure if it goes to that man that he's going to have time to catch it.
Jeffrey, I really must compliment you. That's the best circle I've seen drawn in the entire Test series.
Yes, my school teacher would have been proud of that.
England starting this morning at 239 for 5. And have lost the night watchman, David Lawrence, who was out for 6. But his job was done. He stuck through to stumps last night. Well, that's rather a half-hearted shot. Botham, I think, was going to heave it away through mid-wicket, changed his mind. And Morrison's over comes to an end at 266 for 6.
Start to see the best of him.
Turned down the leg side by Reeve for a single. Now it'll be interesting to see what the approach of the old pro Ian Botham is to the new boy. He certainly looks like he's going for his shots this morning. He might try and hit this fellow out of the attack in a hurry.
Well, I don't think he'll be defensive, put it that way.
That's
it's not
right.
in his nature.